Okay, so welcome back from the break. Today I want to talk about an incident that happened in October 2015 at Yale University. What happened was this. Halloween is coming up. And on Halloween, people like to dress up silly, get drunk, have a good time. And a university department called the Intercultural Affairs Committee sent an email to students saying, it's Halloween, you guys want to have fun, that's fine. But please be sensitive about the feelings of other people. So for example, do not dress up like a panda because we have Chinese students and they might be offended if you dress up like a panda. Okay, so this email went out to all the students at Yale. And one teacher who works at a residential college called Silliman. Okay, so Yale, the university, is divided into dormitories called residential colleges. And she is the dean with her husband of this college called Silliman. And to her students, she writes an email and says that she didn't agree with the university email. She says that a university is a place for you to explore, experiment, and make mistakes. So, yes, be sensitive about the feelings of others, but we trust you to make mistakes and to recover from them, okay? So, the debate was essentially over safe space versus free space. The university said that safe space is important. We must respect the feelings of others. But the dean of Silliman, her name is Erica Christakis, she believes in the idea of free space. So a university is a place for debate, for questioning, for experimentation. And yes, feelings will be hurt. That's part of the growing up process, the intellectual process. So let me ask you a question. Do you guys agree with number one, who argues for safe space, or number two, Erica Christakis, who argues for free space? What do you think? Sorry, can you speak into the mic, please?
Of why?
Why do you believe number one and number two is correct?
Oh, because I think that university is a place that you could explore yourself, jump out of your comfort zone and try the things that you never had experienced before.
Okay, who disagrees? Who believes it's more important to respect the feelings of others?
Like if the college prohibit these dressing that may be offensive to other students, it's just in the campus. If you like walk out into the society, it still will have the people like wants to dress maybe like a panda or something. So I think it's like necessary to yeah.
Okay, all right. Any other opinions? Any other opinions? Okay, so you say respect the rules, right?
I think it depends on who decided. It feels like for myself, I think free space will be more important. I need to explore what I want. But for being as a leader, being as a head of the college, I think safe space will be more important for them because they need to take in control.
Okay, right. But the problem is this is a conflict, right? Mm-hmm. If the teachers care about safe space, you cannot have free space, right? So the question then is, what do you think in principle is more important, free space or safe space?
Safe space.
Okay. Okay, all right, okay. So yeah, so most students believe safe space is more important. And this marks a generational shift because when I was growing up, there was no debate. It was just assumed that free space is more important because if you're not allowed to make mistakes, if you're not allowed to explore, if you're not allowed to argue with other people, if your feelings don't get hurt, you will never grow as a person. Okay, so this marks a generational divide or a generational gap. Okay, so we're going to look at what happened because of this debate. So the students who read the email were offended that Erica Christakis was arguing for free space because they believe that by doing this, you're going to hurt our feelings. All right? And so let's look at what happened. And remember, this is Yale University. Okay. So what's happening is that when Nicholas Christakis, the husband of Erica Christakis, went to a meeting, he was surrounded by students. And they're confronting him, okay? There's like 100 students. And they're confronting him.
For racism.
And they're arguing,
We're sitting here telling you that you are being racist. You are being offensive. You admitted that you hurt us. Why can't you say sorry and move past it?
I'm sorry.
By saying that we didn't have the right to that's how you're hurting us.
One at a time, please. One at a time. It's very easy for any trivial world of mine to be misinterpreted. So I'm one at a time. I'm happy to speak to you as much as, well, I can't speak as much because I have other students that need time as well. So unfortunately, a little bit.
Okay, so look, I'm not saying which side is correct. Okay, both sides have legitimate points. Both sides have problems. But you will notice that the professor, he's much older than the students. And the students are treating him, you can see their faces, right? They're treating him with some contempt. And that's not appropriate. And when I was growing up, we didn't do this. If you didn't like a professor, you thought, well, he's an asshole. But you know what? Most professors are assholes because they're professors. Okay? You did not go and like stalk the guy and complain to him. That's kind of disrespectful. All right? So the question then is, why is this happening? So I want to show you another video. And this video is kind of crazy. Okay, this video.
You understand that? As your position as master, it is your job to create a place of comfort and home for the students that live in Silliman. You have not done that. By sending out that email, that goes against your position as master. Do you understand that? Then
No, I don't agree with that.
Then why the fuck did you accept the position?
Because
Who
I
the
have a
fuck hired you?
Okay, so this is not appropriate. Okay, again, both sides have legitimate points. But this is not appropriate, right? Because what she's saying to him is, you work for us. Your job is to make us feel at home. And his response is that my job is to help you learn. My job is to help you grow. And that means openness. That means debate. That means pain. And her response is, I don't want that crap. I want to feel good. I want to feel at home. I don't be challenged. And if you think about it, that defeats the entire point of university. So again, I'm not saying who's right. I'm not saying who's wrong, but clearly there's a problem here. And when I went to Yale a long time ago, we didn't have any of this. In fact, this sort of incident where a student would curse a professor, it was unimaginable to us. Okay? So the question then is, why is this happening? And there are three explanations for why this is happening. The first explanation is parenting. These kids grew up in very privileged households, and their parents are very protective of them. And their parents treat them like friends. And so these kids are spoiled, okay? That's the first explanation. The second explanation is the idea of a consumerist mentality. So in a university, the idea is that the students are consumers, they're customers, and the customers are always right. What the customers want, you have to give them. So if the customers want a safe space, they want to come and enjoy their time at university, and they don't really challenge, the professors have to meet their demands. Otherwise, he should not have this job. Okay? And this is a mentality that we call neoliberalism or consumerism. Okay? That's the second explanation. Okay? The third explanation is ideological. So the idea is that at universities are overrun by left-wing professors who teach students that society is racist against minorities who happen to be, black and female. And they must overturn the white racist supremacist structure. And you do that by telling white professors who are privileged that they are racist. Okay, so these are three standard explanations for why this is happening. Because this sort of stuff is happening quite a lot in America. What I want to argue to you today is that there's actually another explanation, which I think is much more compelling. And the explanation is that universities have become bureaucracies. Before, universities existed to teach you how to think, to help professors do cutting-edge research that helps a society improve or innovate. But today, universities, including Yale, Harvard, all the universities have become bureaucracies that exist in order to promote the interests of the administrators who want to sit in their office, get really nice, get a really big salary, and feel good about themselves. Okay? That's the argument I will make to you today. And what I will show you is that this is not just true for universities, it's true for every major organization in America and in the Western world, and arguably all around the world. Okay? That's the argument I will make to you today. Any questions before I begin? All right. Okay, so today's lecture is Death by Bureaucracy. How the idea of bureaucracy, the bureaucratic mindset, is taking over the world. All right, so let's talk about another incident at Yale. Okay, this is Yale Law School, and a student named Trevor Colbert, he sends an email. He has a party, he sends an email to all the students at Yale Law School. And there are actually not that many students at Yale Law School. There's maybe 300, okay? But all the students get it. And he says that he's going to organize a party, and it's a trap house party. And it's a bit of a joke, because trap house means actually a drug house, a place where drug dealers sell drugs. But black students, African American students, read the email and they're offended. And they're like, are you making fun of black students? So they write a letter of complaint to the deans of Yale Law School. And there are two deans who investigate, okay? Their names are Eldick and Cosgrove, okay? And what Trevor Colbert does is he actually records the meeting, okay? Secretly. For 20 minutes they talk. And basically, Colbert does not believe he did anything wrong. He sent an email and he said it was a funny email. He thought it was funny, okay? But the deans tell him, you think it's funny, but other students found it offensive, so you need to apologize. And Colbert's like, okay, well, I'll tell you what. If these students thought that what I wrote was offensive, then I will talk to them. We will talk together about why they found the email offensive, and we will settle this amongst ourselves. And the dean's like, no. We want to help you guys out. We want to protect you guys. We're afraid that if you guys meet, you guys will fight even more. And Trevor Colbert's like, well, I want to hear what they think. I don't want to hear this from you. I want to hear what they think, okay? And then what happens is that the deans start to threaten Trevor Colbert. They basically tell him, these things amplify over time, so you must apologize right away for your sake, okay? And they tell him, listen, if you do not apologize, then this might affect your career. This might affect your social circle. Okay, so they're threatening him. And what they say is, we're doing this for your sake. Okay? Eric says he worries about the email affecting the student's reputation, not just here, but when you leave. You know the legal community is a small one. And he says, you know what? I will write the email for you. I will craft the apology for you. And Cosgrove warns that escalation is a possibility if the student doesn't apologize, okay? So this is coercion. And again, the student, it's not clear what the student did wrong. Some students found it offensive, but it's not clear what rules or laws or what regulations Trevor Colvert broke, okay? It's not clear. So why is this happening, okay? My argument to you is that it's happening because these guys, Cosgrove and Eldick, they need things to do. Because being a dean of a university, it's not a real job. Right? There are professors who teach, there are researchers who do research, but deans actually don't do anything. So when you have a bureaucracy, bureaucrats go make problems for everyone in order to create solutions for everyone. Okay? So another way of saying this is 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was a student at Yale, if you had a problem, you had to go talk to a professor because there was no one else to talk to. Nowadays, you can talk to like 20 or 30 different deans. Dean of Student Affairs, Dean of Student-Faculty Relations, who knows, okay? But there are like all these offices that you can go to. And quite honestly, it's the same at the school as well, right? If you don't like me as a teacher, there's like 4 or 5 different people you can complain to. And quite honestly, a lot of you do complain, okay? So I know about this. And what is happening is, these universities have become bureaucracies. Now the question then is, why are they bureaucracies? And the answer is, in the beginning, as a university, you have to build your reputation, right? So you work hard, you focus on teaching, you focus on research. So it's a struggle to become a global brand. Once you become that global brand, there's nothing else to do. There's no more ideology, there's no more struggle. So what happens is, the people in charge start engaging in rent-seeking behavior. They take advantage of their position in order to make their life easier. And then they pass on this privilege to their friends and then to their children. And this creates a bureaucracy. And the university starts to exist in order to empower these people at the expense of students and professors. Okay? All right, so to show you how ridiculous this has become, here's an example. This is from CNN, okay, and this is the year 2020. A University of South California professor is under fire for using a Chinese expression students allege sounds like an English slur, okay? So there's a Chinese word that sounds like a racial slur, an insult in English. These two words actually do not sound the same. Okay, you know what the word is, right? 那个桌子,那个电脑, okay? It's not the same as the English word, but it sounds a bit similar. So what happened was, some black students, African-American students, who were not in his class, okay, wrote a letter of complaint. And honestly, if you read it, it sounds like a joke. It sounds like a prank. All right, so let's read it together. Okay, so this is Professor Greg Patton, and he's just teaching communication Chinese. He's just teaching Chinese to his students on how to communicate in China when you do business, okay? And he says, look, 那个, it's just a filler. It doesn't really mean anything. And he says it a few times. But there's no bad intention in what he's saying, right? I mean, he's just pointing out a fact. So what these students write is, this phrase, clearly and precisely before instruction, is always identified as a phonetic homonym and a racial derogatory term and should be carefully used, especially in the context of speaking Chinese within the social context of the United States. Okay? So this is a ridiculous idea. And honestly, it sounds like a joke, okay? It just sounds like these students are playing a joke. And the administration just ignore this, right? Guess what happens? The dean, okay, the head of the business school, announced that a different professor would take over teaching Patton's class. he fired Patton. And then he said, Professor Patton repeated several times a Chinese word that sounds very similar to a vile racial slur in English. Understandably, this caused great pain and upset among students, and for that I am deeply sorry. It is simply unacceptable for faculty to use words in class that can marginalize, hurt, and harm the psychological safety of our students. We must and we will do better. Okay? He's being retarded. It's a joke, it's a prank, and he's taking it very seriously. Why? Because he's trying to protect his job. He's trying to look good. He's trying to explain why I'm the leader, because I protect everyone. Okay? So then again, why is this happening? Well, again, the idea of bureaucracy. So this is the University of California, San Diego. This is student enrollment, okay? So you can see a slight increase in student enrollment. But look at this. Senior management, deans, administrators, managers, boom, okay? Boom. This is called rent-seeking behavior. This is people in power taking advantage of their power to give jobs to their friends who do nothing every day. And because of that, they're always looking to cause problems for everyone else, especially professors who do real work. Okay? So let's just look at universities. As you can see, the blue is teaching. So what's really interesting is that the investment in teaching has gone down. Okay? So the investment in teaching has gone down, the blue, okay? But look at this. The red is administration. So over the past, from 1980 to today, over the past 40 years, universities have put less money into both administration as well as maintenance, but have put more money into administration, into bureaucracy. Okay, this is where your money is going, guys. All right, so this is Illinois. You see a massive surge in managers, but at the same time, student enrollment is going down. It went down 3%. All right, so this is a paper written about the Swedish education system, the higher education system, okay? It's no different anywhere else. All right, so the argument is that bureaucracy is ballooning in Swedish higher education. So let's look at some interesting statistics. All right, so what's happening is that this chart tells you that teachers are teaching more and more students, okay? Teachers are teaching more and more students, but administrators are managing less and less students. And the reason why is teachers are fewer and fewer, but managers are more and more. That makes no sense. Okay? So you can see that teachers and researchers, it's pretty flat, okay? It hasn't really expanded that much. But secretaries, people who do real work, it's going down. But managers are going up. Okay? So if the university is facing problems, the first thing you should cut are the people who do no work, right? But it's the opposite. People who do no work, the managers, keep their jobs, and in fact, they pay themselves more. And the professors and the maintenance and the secretaries lose their jobs to cut costs. Okay? This is how much they're paid. As you can see, over the same time period, secretaries are getting paid less and less, teachers are getting paid less and less, but look at this. Managers are getting paid more and more. These are the different departments, okay, of a university. So as you can see, okay, the jobs, the departments that do real work, IT, HR, they're going down, but management is going up. All right, so the people who do absolutely no work, their jobs keep on going up and up, and they get paid more and more. And as I said, the problem with bureaucracy is not only do managers do nothing every day, but they expect others to do more work, okay? So professors, researchers, teachers, they're doing more work because the managers are giving them more paperwork to do, okay? Like evaluations and all that. So professors spend now almost 20% of their workday on paperwork given to them by managers. And this paperwork is not necessary. It's just given to them to justify the jobs of the managers, okay? This is America. We go back to America. And as you can see, this is a university called Gallaudet. And as you can see, over a 20-year period, the blue are the salaries of professors. And it's pretty stable, okay? You went from 72 to 86, not a huge increase. But look, for managers, okay? The president, it doubled from 141 to 280. It doubled. Right now, the salaries are over 3 times as much as faculty. This is Connecticut. At Yale, the president makes $2 million a year. At Wesleyan, he makes $3 million a year. Okay. This is a private university called Stratford University. And it went bankrupt. Right now, more and more universities are going bankrupt because obviously you have too many managers and all they do is get huge paychecks for doing nothing. Eventually, you're going to go bankrupt, right? So, yeah?
Sorry to interrupt, but the school board is not stupid. So, I mean, this is a fact, and so why don't they just change anything?
That's a great question, okay? The reason why is they're all friends. The school board, the president, the vice president, they're all friends. And that's why they can do this. Because they control all the power. They're all friends. And it's in their best interest to steal together, right? Because if you steal by yourself, then you might get caught. But if you steal together, then you're untouchable, okay? So this is exactly what happens at Stratford University. The university goes bankrupt, and because the president and the vice president are stealing from the university, stealing because they are not only collecting huge paychecks, but they're also expensing everything to the university. So for example, they buy a car or they have a gym membership, they charge the university. And if the university can't pay for it, what they do is they lend money to the university. Okay? All right? So Schultz is the president. He lists himself and his wife as the biggest creditors, claiming that the university owes the couple $2.5 million for 8 promissory notes. Okay? So the university could not pay their cars or their house mortgages, and the Schultz are like, don't worry about it. We'll lend you the money. And then when the university went bankrupt, it was like, okay, now you have to pay me back. All right? So again, how were they able to do this? Because the filings also shed light on payments to university insiders in its final year of operation. The college paid out of over $30,000 in stipends to 7 trustees. So the people at the top were getting paid off, even as the university was going bankrupt. Though the filing doesn't differentiate which expenses were Richard's and which were Mary Ann's, the filings for 2020 alone showed over $18,000 in lease and insurance payments for the Schultz cars, okay? So they had cars and they were making the university pay for these cars. Over $4.7 million in loan payments and collateral returned to Eagle Bank on behalf of the Schultz, okay? So they're also making the university pay for their houses as well. And then you're like, how could they do this? Well, the answer is because in America, the rich always wins in the court system. So whoever is able to hire the best lawyers always wins out. And they have a lot of money. The university is bankrupt. They don't have a lot of money. So they will win out. Okay? So I point this out because this is what's going to happen to many universities over the next 5-10 years in America. Because you have a system where you have the managers at the top, they are all best friends. They're all stealing from the university together. And eventually the university will bankrupt. So